Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review my first 2024 new release movie. Because this year I decided we're going to be done with 2023 in 2024. You know, we're not going to have this thing where we're still catching up through January and then doing the list videos like that late. We're going to get it all done. And I think it's had to do with creating schedules, because I create a calendar about 20 days in advance, or maybe like 15 days. So like every month we have everything like basically fully planned out with, you know, obviously room for more to do. But anyways, I am here today to review Race for Glory, Audi versus Lancia. I saw this movie just pop up and I was like, what the hell? Like, what is this? Like, is this going to be like a really good movie? Like, we're going to start off 2024 with a, you know, what the kids would say, a banger. It's going to be like Ford v Ferrari, but it's got Daniel Bruhl from fucking Alienist and all that other stuff. You know, he's a great actor. He's going to kick some ass. And then you got the main guy. He kind of looks like Benicio del Toro had sex with Javier Bardem and they had a child together. And he is, I don't know, he just kind of has the same serious face the whole movie. Like, the whole movie, he always has this, like, face where he's just like, I'm gonna be serious guy. I'm the serious lead in a serious movie. Like, even when he's smiling, it's like his eyebrows are, like, still, like, he's like, I'm very serious leading man. I'm in a serious movie, and you have to take me seriously. And then I guess the third lead, I don't know, I get the third lead would be the driver. And he's just like a guy who has like a fetish for honey or something. Like his obsession with honey is really, really strange. They never go into like why he's so in love with honey. But like that's like the only characterization we get for him, is that he loves honey. And that he has a wife who we see for one scene. And it's like, oh, look, he's got a wife. He's a person, too. It's like, that's how crappy this movie is. I mean, okay, spoiler alert, I did not like this movie. Like, first off, I should say, before we get into this movie, if you could even call it that, it is a movie, but it's not really a movie. It's just it's a January movie, that's for sure. But first off, this movie's all about rallying. I still have no idea what that even means. Like, is that just racing? Like, because they make it seem different, and then the cars, they're a lot worse looking than the race cars. You know, they look like, I don't want to say junky, but they look like vehicles that have been through a lot. You know, they look like, you know how porn stars look when they're really old? Like, that's how these cars look. And they're supposed to be cool in this movie. And apparently this story is really good. You know, the Audi versus Lancia rivalry that was in the 80s. Like, apparently this is like a legendary racing story that a lot of people, I looked at the trailer and they said that, you know, this is one of the greatest rivalries ever. We hope that the movie shows that rivalry really well. Well, unfortunately, this movie, I guess, they took a great real life story and they totally wasted it. Like, they had all the ingredients here to make a great movie, but they were just missing one. And I'll talk about that when I give it my food review, because Safi accidentally made the perfect food review for this movie. which, frequently happens conveniently. So that, like, we eat something and then it just so happens to be the perfect rating for whatever movie that we're watching. Anyways, this movie is a very, very meh. In fact, it's less than meh. Because at least a meh movie is something that, like, I could watch again if I was forced to, if I was in the apocalypse. I'm thinking, like, Belfast. Ugh. God, that movie was so bland. That was so vanilla. Ugh. But this movie is bad. It is really bad. And the biggest reason is because you think that this movie is going to be a rivalry movie where you have two characters. You got Benicio del Bardem and you got Daniel Bruhl. And it's versus, and it's intense. It's Rocky versus Apollo. It's Ford v Ferrari. But guess what? You're in for a rude surprise. Because this movie is all about nothing. Because, like, this whole fucking movie, you're just spending it with the main guy, and there's not really a story at all. It's just, we gotta win this race, and it's a series of rallies all over the world. Like, we gotta win each one to beat Lancia, to beat Audi. They are Lancia. The main guys are Lancia. They gotta beat Audi. We don't get any Audi, basically. Like, Daniel Bruhl, he is hardly in this movie at all. Like, he's basically like a cameo. They show all of his best scenes in the trailer. And I thought in the trailer, maybe they were just, like, teasing because he's such a great actor. He is one of the best actors of the modern age, I think. I mean, even though I don't really... I haven't seen a lot of his films. I think he is really, really good. But he's hardly in the movie. Like, every time he pops up, I'm like, oh my god, is he going to do something finally? And he just stands there in the background. I guess he's supposed to be menacing looking. He doesn't look very menacing. He just looks cool. And he looks like someone, like, honestly, I was almost kind of on Audi's side because Lancia, they pull a lot of dirty tricks throughout the movie. The main guy, he's kind of like a trickster, and he's, every race he's got to, like, do something sneaky to win. And I'm not going to get into detail because maybe people still want to watch it based on this review. I hope not, though. Don't waste your time. Because eventually, the movie was getting so boring that I started speeding up the movie. And this is something I never do because I don't believe in it. I think it's kind of mean and it's kind of unnatural to speed up a movie. But I sped this movie up. I put it on 1.5 speed to finish it because I was just so, like, over this movie. I was like, this is not a good way to start off 2024. It could have been a great way, because they had all the right ingredients, and somehow they still screwed it up. I'm glad that, I'm not glad about anything. I don't know what I was going to say there. Like, the dialogue is really bad, too. I did take some notes, because, this movie really just feels like a string of scenes. It doesn't really feel like a movie, like a beginning, middle, and end, where, you have a story with these characters at the rivalry. There is no rivalry. Like, I'm so sick of these movies with their false advertising. Like, remember Borg versus Mick and Roe? That was another movie where it was, like, false advertising, and where, like, 90% of the movie was with Borg. And so you knew as the audience that Borg was going to win. And then what do you know? He wins at the end. And it's like, oh, see? I knew that was going to happen. That's a real big surprise. And with this movie, it's the exact same thing where it's not just 90% Lancia. It's 100% And so it's like, as the audience, who's going to win at the end? It's going to be Lancia. Like, if you couldn't figure that out, then you are really, really slow. Okay? Like, so that's another problem. But the dialogue in this movie, just listen to this dialogue. So, Daniel Bruhl, for one of his only scenes in the whole movie, he's like, "You think us Germans are stereotypical and we're so in love with our technology and that's all we're about. But you will never win with that car that you have." And I was like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense at all. Like, did you guys just hear that? He's like, you guys think that Germans are so stereotypical and all we care about is technology. But then he immediately says that Lancia will never win because they have an inferior car. I mean, that is just straight up bad dialogue right there. That is a classic example of, like, who wrote that? You either do one or the other. You think us Germans are so stereotypical and all we care about is technology. Well, let me inform you, blah, 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 blah. Or you do, you will never win with your car, Jose. Like, you do one or the other. Because they both mean different things. They contradict each other. And I will say, there is a character at some point. There's not really any characters in this movie because these were like flat, dull, cardboard cutouts of characters. They didn't really have any character at all. They're not characters in this movie, but there is a character at one point that's just, she's like randomly introduced into the movie. Just like everything in this movie is so randomly done, and I will try to be positive with, a little thing. The little positive thing I can say is that this main chick, she comes in and she becomes a part of the Lancia team. She's a nutritionist. And I gotta say, she's pretty hot. So, I mean, that is one good thing to say about the movie. There's this girl that comes in and she's pretty hot. Like, I don't know if, is that a win? Yay! I don't know what else and so the movie quickly becomes very predictable. There's this one really gross moment where before the predictable part comes, they're doing this race and there's this kid and he's drinking a juice box, and it's so funny because the movie making in this movie is not very good, okay? Because, like, the racing scenes, I'll also say this, the racing scenes are pretty much terribly shot. Like, I feel bad for the drivers who, they risk their lives to film for this movie, because, like, the filming, the footage sucked. The racing scenes were very, very lame, and I was never really interested or engaged with the scenes at all. It's so much worse than like Gran Turismo last year, where I was saying like, you know what, the Ford v Ferrari racing scenes were a lot better. Well, this racing in this movie is not very good at all. It's very shaky. It's very fast paced. Too many cuts. Too much editing. It's terrible, and the music doesn't work at all. The music in this movie is not that great at all. Very forgettable. But there's this part where there's this kid, and he's got a juice box, and he's sucking out of the juice box, and you can clearly see that he's holding this empty juice box, because the way that he's holding it and he's drinking out of it, they either forgot to add the correct sound effect that would sound like you're sucking juice out of a juice box, or that is the natural sound. And that kid, he's got this empty juice box, and you're thinking, why does he have an empty juice box? Is it because they're worried about the continuity of the invisible juice that people can't see because it's covered up inside the juice box? No. It is because they have this really gross part where it was so gross that I was like, ew! Like, I was that disturbed by this, okay? The main driver, he is watching this race because he didn't want to compete in this specific race. And that's how you know something bad's going to happen. Very predictable. And he takes the juice box from this kid because the kid's asking how an engine works. And he puts his mouth on the kid's juice box. The empty juice box. So this kid, he drank out of that entire juice box. This guy, he puts his mouth on where the kid put his mouth. I was like, oh no, what are you doing? Like, what is going on here? And I was like, oh, see, that's why this juice box had to be empty. It had to be empty so that they could do this stupid little thing where he's explaining how an engine works and he puts his mouth on the juice box. Why would you do that? I mean, I know maybe, hopefully, behind the scenes, they had a different juice box, because honestly, like, I would not want to put my mouth on another person's juice box unless it was like, I don't know, like, it's gotta, even though, like, it could be, like, pretty, I don't know, sexy. I guess she would have to be like an angel for me to want to drink out of the same juice box that she drank out of, you know? Like, because, like, that is weird. That is weird and gross. He puts his mouth on it, he blows air into it, and he does this whole thing where he's like, this is how an engine works. And I was like, oh, this is gross. So yeah, the movie's very predictable because they have this second driver and they keep on emphasizing his character, and you're thinking, why did they keep on showing him so much? Oh, it's because he's going to be the one to get in an accident. Oh, and the movie actually warns you that something bad is going to happen because there's no music at all. And then all of a sudden, they play this dramatic, depressing music before anything bad has even happened. So the movie warns you a minute before something bad happens, and then boom, and it happens, and you're like, wow, that was really surprising. Not. And then the whole movie, too, they keep on cutting back to, like, this interview where the main guy, Benicio del Bardem, he's talking to this reporter woman, and that part just seemed really pointless to me. And the reporter woman, it was really funny because she looked like Jennifer Lawrence. Like, she looked like how Jennifer Lawrence used to look back when Jennifer Lawrence was, like, mildly attractive, even though she's always been a terrible actress. And I thought, this, like, interview thing that they keep on cutting to over and over again throughout the movie, it's not helping at all, because the movie's already a mess, because there's no cohesiveness at all. It really scares me, actually, because it shows you that you could have, like, all the right elements to make a movie, and maybe you could make the movie thinking that it's really good, and then you put all those elements together in the editing process, and you get a really bad January movie, you know? So, but then actually something else that's really funny is that they have a final race after that, and I didn't feel any sort of anything about it because it was just so badly shot, and I just was not invested in these characters or this company, which I've never been invested in any car company at all. Like, I know that that's what the car companies think now, because somebody else pointed this out too, that, like, they're now making all these car movies. And it's like, look, I know that car companies probably think that we're really interested in their companies, but I'll tell you something, I'm really not. at all interested in your stupid car companies. I couldn't care less about your stupid car companies. The reason why Ford v Ferrari was good was not because it was Ford and Ferrari cars. It was because of the characters. Christian Bale's character, what was his name, like Ken Barry? He was a very interesting character. He was a character that you wanted to follow. Matt Damon's character was a good character. These were characters. It was not just about, like, look, these companies. Do you like this company? Do you like that company? Well, you'll like this movie about the companies winning races. So, randomly in the middle of this final race, too, all of a sudden, the second driver comes out of the coma, because what happened was he got into a coma, and then the doctor said that he only had a 1 out of 10 chance of making it out. And guess what? He makes it out, like, immediately. And so they really squeezed the drama out of that. You know, like, that's what they do a lot of the times in these true story movies, too, is they don't really have a lot of drama going on, which I think that this story in real life probably did, but, you know, they didn't really show it well. But they squeeze out drama where there isn't as much drama as there is. That's what they did here. There's a lot of strange filmmaking choices, too. Like, the final race, like, the reason why the good guy wins at the end is because the other car just happened to, like, smoke out or something. And so then they win. And it's like, not. I guess I'm happy that hot girl won, the hot girl in the Lancia team, but I really don't care at all. And then after the final race, oh yeah, I did just spoil the whole movie. I forgot. I don't care. I don't care. You guys know what's going to happen just by even watching the trailer. Like, there is no, like, suspense over whether Audi is going to win. They're painted as the villains. They're painted as, like, just their one-dimensional, like, it's the bad Germans with their technology problems, and, you know, they don't have any soul. They just have technology, and it's like, no, Germans got lots of soul. Have you tasted their food? They've got all the soul. So, after the final race, the main character, his last line of dialogue in the movie is this. You guys won't believe this. Benicio del Bardem, he's like, "We're happy." That's his final line of dialogue in the movie. After this whole movie and, like, this journeying around the world to do this rallying, and this whole thing has been ended, and all he can say is, "We're happy." What were they thinking with that? And then, you know what the bad guy race car driver says? He says, "They are happy. We are unhappy." What were they thinking there? I mean, if that's what they actually said, that's one thing. I really don't know, because after this movie was over, probably one of the most mind-boggling things in movie history happened. Okay, after the movie was over, and I was really excited to finally get my life back from this movie, is they had this caption. And they purposefully, they had, first off, they had this slideshow, the typical true story movie slideshow where they show the pictures and they say, this person went on to be famous, and this person went on to kill themselves, you know, like when they do that whole thing. Well, after they did that, they shrunk the font size down to, like, really, really small so that you wouldn't pay attention to it. But they still had it on for, like, a whole minute. And it says, like, this movie is only inspired by true events. You cannot take this movie as an actual description of the facts. And I was like, oh my God. These people, they just admitted right there that you, the audience, just wasted all of your time. Because, like, they're like, sorry guys, this movie, it's only an inspiration. It's not the real thing. This isn't an actual description of the facts. And it's like, who does that? You just shot yourself in the foot after the movie's over. The movie's over and you fucked yourself up. I mean, isn't that sad? So yeah, these people, they made a January movie to a T. Now I'm going to delete all my notes. All these wasted notes. We're happy. Oh, fuck, you're fucking happy, fuck. I mean, I would be pretty happy too if I got to be around that nutritionist. I mean, honestly, like, she could tell me what to eat, that's for sure. Like, if she said to eat, I don't know, what's a food I really don't like? I don't know, actually. Because, I mean, I don't have that feeling anymore where I actively dislike a food. I don't know. Maybe surströmming, because I know that that's, like, really bad, but I would eat that. If she told me to eat it, I would eat the entire can. I'd even eat the can. That's how much I think highly of this character. She's a nutritionist, and she can nutrition my mist, if you know what I mean. And so anyways, the food rating for this movie, the perfect food rating, it is so perfect. It was practically delivered to me on a silver platter. The food rating is tzatziki sauce that we had tonight with the salmon patties. Because tonight we had salmon patties with tzatziki sauce, which is like a meal that I am very good with making because I like to cook, and I like to cook some of the times, or maybe like most of the time. I like to kind of like alternate, you know, and well, the tzatziki sauce was not very good because it didn't have cucumber. And it didn't taste like tzatziki sauce, really. It just tasted kind of like bland sour cream or whatever, like mayonnaise, like, or I don't know, like it did not have the taste of tzatziki sauce. And that's what this movie is like for me. Like, you can have all the perfect elements. So I had corn. I had rice with butter on top. I had perfectly cooked, perfectly seasoned salmon patties. But if you get the tzatziki sauce wrong, it kind of like takes away from the whole dish, because it kind of ruins that. You know, it ruins the salmon patties because that takes away a very special element. And the element that was missing from this movie as well was soul. This movie was the Audi of the car racing movies. Since they said in this movie, you know, Audi doesn't have any soul. They're just technology people. Well, that's what this movie is. This movie's got no soul. It's got no heart. It's just a product. It's a piece of content. And then at the end of the piece of content, they tell you, this is not a description of the actual facts. And it's like, well, then why the fuck did I have to waste my time watching this movie? Seriously. Don't you guys think that's shitty? Like, come on. What are we doing here? The first movie of 2024, and we get tzatziki sauce without the cucumber. I just feel like, you know, in those scenes where, like, the guy's got, like, the checkerboard on the barrel, and then he flips over the barrel and the checkers fall everywhere. That's what I want to do with this movie, you know. So anyways, please like this video and comment and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.